Hi friends, and welcome back to Raft. Whether you're entirely new to this ocean survival simulator, returning after a break, or just wanting to get a head start before Chapter 3 arrives, here's a beginner's guide to Raft to ease your early days and help set you up for the adventure that awaits. This video is entirely spoiler-free story-wise, but it does contain information on gameplay mechanics that the game doesn't tell you directly. If you'd like to go entirely on your own to figure it out for yourself, I'd recommend this other non-informative video of mine for some light entertainment. If you do enjoy this, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into the wonderful world of Raft. Before you can begin that adventure of yours, you'll need to set up your world. Raft has 4 main difficulties, although technically there's also creative, but if you're looking to truly experience the Raft world, you may want to steer clear of that for a little bit. If you're just interested in building nice rafts though, creative is definitely the way to go. No islands spawn, no enemies attack you, and no debris is cluttering up your lovely screenshots. But if you're looking for a survival experience, you can choose between peaceful, easy, normal, and hard. Hard is the most similar to Minecraft's hardcore mode. If you die, you cannot continue in that world if you're playing alone. You have to start over and begin anew. Another player can revive you by retrieving your body from wherever you died and placing it back in a bed. If you're playing alone and you don't have a friend to revive you, there's actually a subreddit dedicated to people reviving each other. Your weapons also deal less damage in hard, and it takes more effort to defeat enemies. There can even be multiple sharks who attack your raft more frequently. Needless to say, I wouldn't recommend starting your raft journey with hard mode. But if that's what you want to do, follow your dreams. Normal allows you to die and respawn on your own, but you'll lose anything you had in your inventory once you respawn. This means that you don't need another person, but there is a punishment for dying. This is pretty much the most average game mode, or the normal mode, so if you're just looking for what the devs intended, this is what I'd choose. Next is easy. In easy, you can die and maintain your inventory. Your food and water stats deplete a little less quickly. This is a great way to go if you're playing for the story and you want to relax, but you still want a tiny bit of challenge. And finally, we have peaceful mode. Peaceful is functionally the same as easy, but enemies aren't aggressive. So basically, you only have to worry about your hunger and water levels, and very little else. This mode is great for the people who just want to pursue the story, or people who really want to ease into the raft experience. Once you've chosen your difficulty, it's time to start your survival journey. As mentioned before, you have food and water bars that you'll need to maintain if you want to have any hope of finding dry land. So you need to make a simple water purifier and a basic grill. You'll also need a cup to collect that water you plan on drinking. Cooking food makes it more nutritious, but how are you supposed to find food? At the start of the game, you have 2 main options: fishing or trying your luck with barrels. Raft has a few types of floating debris: wooden planks, bits of plastic, some leaves, and the occasional barrel or crate that dot the surface of the water. These are the basic resources you'll need to survive. It's in your best interest to gather everything that floats your way, so I strongly recommend crafting a few collection nets to help you gather things. But how do you get collection nets? Well, to make any substantial progress in Raft, you'll need a research table, which you can make using some of that debris you've been working on gathering with your hook. Plop it down on your raft and you can get researching. Basically, you'll want to research every material you gather, craft, or find to unlock more advanced recipes. The collection net is unlocked by researching planks, rope, and nails. They're an early investment that will more than pay out in the long run. The best individual resource to work on gathering would be those barrels and crates we talked about earlier. Not only do they contain multiple resources like scrap and stone instead of the ones you just usually fish up, but there's also a chance they'll contain potatoes or beets, aka your best early food source. Plant a few in the small crop plots you can craft, and then just cook the rest. Just be sure to guard your new garden from those pesky seagulls that will pick your crops if you don't defend them. You'll also need to water your crops with some of that fresh water you're distilling. But be warned, you only need 1 cup of fresh water to water all 3 plants in a crop plot, so don't waste your water. Plant everything at once and then water it. By the time you've got all this lined up and you're stable enough in the food and water department, you've likely found your first small island. These are a haven for resources you can't get anywhere else. There's generally a few trees and a few fruits that can help alleviate your early dehydration problems as well. You'll need an axe to cut down the trees, but the rest of the resources can either be harvested by hand or using your trusty hook. If you get lucky, the island you visit may have a crate of resources left behind by someone who came before you. Most of the other resources are underwater though, so you might want to make some shark bait with the extra fish you have laying around. Only pomfrets and herrings can make shark bait, so maybe don't eat those but keep them as food for Jeremiah the shark instead. Shark bait lasts for about 1 minute once it's in the water, so plan your resource gathering ahead of time. There's a few things you can only find on these islands underwater: sand, clay, seaweed, metal, and copper ores. If you don't know exactly what you need, it's worth it to just gather everything. That includes the sand and clay. You'll need those to make a smelter to melt down the ores. After crafting at least 7 wet bricks using that sand and clay you gathered from the island, you'll need to set them out on your raft to dry into dry bricks. Those dry bricks can then be researched in your research table to get the crafting recipe for smelters. Smelters need to be fueled with planks, then you place whatever resource you'd like to smelt on top. Early in the game, you'll probably want to focus on smelting metal, copper, and seaweed. Again, remember that it's important to keep researching these materials as you gather them, because they will unlock more advanced recipes and other items you may need in the future. As you continue to float along, your nets may have collected some special packages that hold recipes for new decoration items that you can spruce up your raft with. Likely, you'll have also caught barrels that contain special blueprints for a receiver and antenna. You don't actually need to keep the physical blueprints, as those recipes are contained in the research tables you've been working so closely with. Once you've crafted 3 antenna and 1 receiver, you'll need to place them at least 2.5 squares away from each other. They also need to be 1 level above sea level to function, so keep that in mind when you're designing your raft. Once you've got all that set up, you'll notice 1 glowing blue dot. That blue dot is the first story location if you choose to go there. You may also notice some green dots. Those are large islands. Kind of like the smaller islands from earlier, but, larger. The large islands also have some new enemies you haven't dealt with yet. Boars will charge at you. Just sidestep when they do and you'll be fine. If you opt to take them down, you'll be rewarded with leather that can be used to craft some armor. Alternatively, you could make a backpack to increase your inventory space. There are some pufferfish underwater. Either steer clear of them or be confident in your bow and arrow abilities, as they'll explode before you can kill them with a spear. If you do manage to kill them, you'll be rewarded with some explosive goo that you can dry into explosive powder using your handy-dandy smelters. You may even get a nifty hat too. And finally, there's screechers. Frankly, it's not worth your time and resources to try and kill them, so your best bet is to hide under rock croppings or in caves to avoid them. Speaking of those caves contain dirt, which you can dig up with a shovel. Dirt is useful for making some specific kinds of crop plots, which you may find useful as you progress through the game. Specifically, dirt is used in making grass plots, which you'll need if you want to keep any animals on your raft. But how do you capture animals? Remember that explosive powder you got from the pufferfish? You can use it to craft a net launcher and net canisters. Then simply launch a net and an animal of your choice and carry them back to your raft with your nicely prepared animal holding area. Along the way, it will be prudent to upgrade your food and water setup. I recommend dedicating a portion of your raft to food production with plenty of crop plots and a sprinkler. If you cover your crops with some basic structure, seagulls won't attack them anymore. Plus, if you make an advanced grill nearby, you'll be set with food for life. Water is simple enough if you make an advanced water purifier and some of those plastic bottles you can craft. Just refill it with 1 bottle and you'll always have 5 servings of water in your pocket. By now, you're well set up to explore the world. Continue to gather resources, build up your raft, and perhaps attempt exploring story locations if you're up to it. If you make it through the story and were just as confused as I was, maybe this other video of mine can help. But you're no longer a beginner and are a competent rafter. Welcome to the ocean. May you survive long enough to see another person. But for now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this beginner's guide to Raft. Please leave a like if you did, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It'd really help me out. I hope to see you all soon, and as always, have a great day.